All right, Kevin, back with you for another episode of the $1,000,000 Relationships Podcast. And today I am here with my friend Tom Shipley. Tom, welcome. So awesome to have you here today.
It's great to be with you, Kevin.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, you and I, we got to connect. My good friend Tim and his friend Fan, they host these mastermind dinners down in Austin. I know you live in the Austin area. I'm not in the Austin area. I live up here north of Seattle, about 40 miles. And Tim and I were talking sometime last year, and I had mentioned to him that I was coming down to Austin in January, and he's like, "Well, Kev, we're gonna host a dinner while you're here. If we host a dinner while you were here, would you come?" And I was like, "I would absolutely come." And so what an awesome experience that was. And Tom, you and I got to meet at that dinner. We made a connection, and I was like, "Man, I would love to interview you for the podcast." So huge shout out to Tim and Fam for hosting that dinner, and I'm extremely grateful and appreciative of those two guys for hosting that. And Tom, I'm just excited that you and I got to meet, and excited to have this conversation here with you today, because I know it's going to be very impactful. And so what I'd like to do is just start off by turning it over to you so that you can share a little bit of your background, what you do, who you serve, what inspires you most about the work that you get to do. Just give us an idea, who is Tom Shipley and what is Tom Shipley all about?
Um, Kevin, it's really great to be to be here with you. I really enjoyed our time meeting there, and yes, Tim and Than are just outstanding human beings, and I appreciate all the giving they're constantly doing and putting in a number of events I've been to with them. So, taking a step back, just context. I'm a kid from Cleveland, Ohio, and Orlando, Florida, who in my 20s left Florida State University, moved to Israel, spent 5 years there, served in the Israeli Special Forces.
Wow.
After I got out of the Special Forces, where you realize that there's really nothing that's impossible. So I had $100 in my pocket, and I started my first business while I was getting my bachelor's and master's degree in industrial engineering. But then things evolve and you learn and you grow. And I can say my first real business was in 1999, Internet 1.0, exciting period of time. But I was always been a believer in building brands, because something I'm always looking for decade durable brands. How do you build that? And how do you leverage omni-channel marketing to do that? And while at one time I was looked at as being crazy with this philosophy, I think right now is people recognize it's all about the attention, and it's about you can leverage omni-channel, meaning across all channels, to build decade durable brands. And there's a lot of keys and secret we've learned along the way, and attribution, some cool things about that. But that was that first business. I took my playbook with a partner in 2005 and said, let's apply this to a crazy idea. Let's apply this to the beauty industry, where it was just not being done. And we were told that we were crazy. And while you have two former Special Forces guys in Richmond, Virginia, starting this little business in a attic in Richmond, Virginia, and we said, we're building $100 million skincare brand. And we were, of course, laughed at. 3 years later, we had our skincare brand, Hydroxytone, did $100 million in revenue. And again, it was omni-channel, TV, radio, print, and of course, online was always the biggest present. And you fast forward 18 years later, we have a number of iconic beauty brands, from Keranique to Christy Brinkley Beauty. We sold over $2 billion worth of products. You'd find it in our brands in Sephora, and Nordstrom's, and Ulta, and Costco, and CVS. But majority of our business was always direct response. So sold that portfolio of brands off to private equity, launched during COVID, the power of adding zeros to ideas, which created the idea of let's build a new type of CPG company, and let's start doing a serial acquire for Amazon e-commerce brands. I raised $100 million from private equity and launched Foundry Brands. A year and a half ago, left there to do my next platform. And while the private equity team is doing an amazing job with the leadership team we brought in of running that, and right now focusing on changing the way advertising agencies are being scaled and grown and rolled up. And we started Agency Ventures Aggregators with my partners, Felix Velarde and Peter Lang. And right now we're building a platform to serial acquire agencies, and as well as we teach what we do. And so we're trying to transform the way agencies, which is a tough world, but it's been an industry that's been around forever, and it's just been underserved, and we're serving that marketplace. So
Wow. Wow. So, okay, now
yeah.
I'm just, you got my mind going. So I'm gonna stay on track here. I'm not gonna start asking a bunch of questions and get completely off track. But okay, so now that we've got a little bit of context set here and stuff, I'm gonna shift gears, and I'm gonna reiterate the question for the benefit of our listeners. So, have you ever met or been introduced to a person or persons that completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And Tom, I am just really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
So if I look at the common thread through all my businesses that I've had since the very beginning, it was the person that I met when I was 2 weeks out of Special Forces.
Okay.
I met my then girlfriend, my wife, Pam.
Okay.
So Pam's been with me through ups and downs, and we've had very lean, difficult times. And we've had great times where everything was just perfect. And overall, it is the consistent impact and the support that she's had. And I call her my ride and die girl. She's always been there. And if someone says, who is Pam Shipley? And I say, well, if you ever watch Billions and seen Wendy Rhodes, that's Pam. Pam's that Brooklyn girl therapist that tells it like it is. She's gone in when I've been traveling and raising money and had stern conversations with my C-level team in my first business. And she's always been there as far as very smart, sage advice and a very strong personality that's there throughout this. And well as she always brings the fun and the magic to all company events. So she is that combination of that tough girl that people want to hang around and they're constantly laughing with, but it's that strength that she's had as an individual and the way she processes information, that logic, that has been an incredible life partner through this whole journey.
Wow.
If I can tell the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So 2018 with Lennox Brands, it was a very interesting year. We had some struggles a couple years before then. Again, this is a company doing between 70 to $100 million in revenue a year.
Okay.
And so 2018 was a great year for us. And we had companies coming to us wanting to buy it. We decided to sell the business. We had 3 offers to buy the business between $55 and $75 million. Not a bad day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In October of that, October 7th, I think it was, we got a call from our manufacturer of our main product that we sold, that we were on continuity with. It was the sole supplier and the sole manufacturer in the world and the only person licensed through the FDA to manufacture this FDA approved product. And with the call we got was this $500 million a year manufacturer was just shut down, Chapter 7 insolvency.
Wow.
What happens when we have an auto ship product that goes out every month to your customer on continuity, and you can't get to your inventory, you can't ship things out, you can't supply the products. Every month you lose people off auto ship, and after 90 days, you're pretty much starting from scratch. Mm-hmm. We have a business that was making about 700,000 a month in profit. And when you get rid of all the auto ship customers over a period of time, within 5 months, we were actually losing about 600,000 a month.
Wow. Wow.
we tried a lot to turn things around. We got a new manufacturer up and running, FDA approved it. It took 90 days to do that. But by then we had such a big hit. We tried a couple swings to make it happen. It didn't. And it was, we were in Boise, Idaho for a mastermind that we were going out for. And Pam and I, my wife Pam and I were running along the Boise River. And it was one of those days where it was just a little bit cold and chill in the air. And you feel the mist, it's almost everywhere. It's like spitting in your face. It's so thick. And we're running along the Boise River and through the woods along this path. And I just got a call from our lender who said that they were basically pulling the loan, calling our note, and basically things were about to get very challenging. And I said, can we go dark on this conversation today? Pam said, let's do it. She said, tell me what's going on. She knew what's going on, but so I repeated the information is, well, those offers to buy business are gone. We went from making all that money to losing $600,000 a month. Our main lender said they're pulling the plug. They're forcing us to liquidate and just sell what they can to get whatever they can of their loan out because we have a valuable brand. It's just distressed assets, a distressed asset. We're going to get a fraction of it. She said, what does that mean? She said, I said, first of all, thousands of people's lives, basically their income and their jobs are in jeopardies in our ecosystem. She said, and then what? I said, well, after the team, I said, then we're talking about for us, I said, we're going to lose everything, probably the house, the cars, and maybe owe the government money. She said, and then what? And I said, well, that means that you and I are in an apartment starting from scratch. She said, and then what? I said, then we get to work. And she said, where are we in 5 years? I said, we are probably looking at a liquidity event for a $50 million company. She said, so what are you stressed about? She said, you got me and the girls, we're not going anywhere. Ride and die.
Wow.
I'm a competitor. I love business. It's the greatest game in the world. And therefore, I love going all in. I love winning. I love putting together winning teams. I love building winning models, infrastructures, and I love scaling businesses. And I do protect investors and my lenders with everything I have. However, when all is said and done, the only thing that really counts are the real relationships in your life. Businesses come and go. Your relationships are forever if you know how to nurture and handle them properly and always keep the right priorities. So for Pam, that day was a realization. And then that day I became vulnerable. I started reaching out to everyone in my network. I asked for ideas. I came back to my team. I said, this is what I got from Russell Brunson and Perry Belcher and Ryan Dice and Roland Frazier and some friends shared with me these ideas and some other people. I asked my team, what do you have? Let's look at the numbers. Now let's get to work. And it was kind of like, do you ever see the movie The Martian with Matt Damon? Where
yes, yeah.
What you have to do to get home is you solve the big problems every day and eventually come home. What we did is we solved enough problems. They gave us enough time to be able to a year after that to get the business back to where it was.
Wow.
It wasn't easy. It was stressful. The team was incredible along the way. But when it came down to it, it was the confidence of my wife having that clarity of I have confidence in you and I believe in you. You got this. And then the processing along the way and having that as far as a relationship, that's Pam.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What an amazing story, and it's we as an entrepreneur, I've heard on many occasions that behind every successful man is a supportive woman and stuff. And of course, what you just shared is the epitome of that. And, a lot of times when I'm doing these interviews and stuff, I ask my guests that, okay, what is one thing that, where you and this person that you were just talking about, where you had a massive impact together that, hands down would have never happened if not for that relationship. And of course, you just shared such an amazing story, and that I didn't even need to ask that question. You just, I mean, what a amazing story. But I also bet that there's another example too that you have, and I just want to make sure that because as for me personally, I have long believed that as entrepreneurs, our most valuable asset that we possess is the relationships that we have with people. And everything else stems from that. And so I'm just curious, as I'm sharing that and I'm asking that, does anything else come up for you, Tom, that, because of this relationship with your wife, that together, because of the two of you, and another example of where you have had a massive impact in this world that would have never ever happened if not for this relationship that you and your wife have together.
Well, I'll start with this, is that as everything is about momentum, and sometimes you take little steps or big steps to create momentum. And there's a lot of things that happen along the way. If I go back to the beginning and I think about when I was, I reluctantly took a job out of school with AT&T, and it started with me coming up with an idea. We were driving down the road and I came up with the idea for a product. And life in corporate America was just going to kill me because it was just boring. It doesn't matter if I was being promoted and I was doing well. It was just killing me emotionally because I'm an entrepreneur by nature. And we were driving down the road. It was 436 in Orlando. Came up with an idea for a product, and I said, "Should we go check it out, see if this idea exists in the store and what's being done with it?" She said, "Let's start doing our research." She said, "The last thing we ever want to do is have the regrets that we want to do something we didn't. We don't want to be those people." So we went and researched, and this wasn't the right product. 6 months. There was the time right before that where I was working at AT&T, and Pam found out she was pregnant with our daughter. We just won the New York City Marathon. Surprise, she ran it pregnant. We didn't know she did.
Wow.
And then I was faced with the fact of that life at AT&T was mediocre. And to me is, we have this responsibility as people to write an epic novel in of our lives, in every chapter, which to me is 5 or 10 years. I have responsibility to make it epic, period. So, to say that my life was mediocre because I worked at AT&T and that was on me, it was my decision. I agreed with it. But then when Pam found out she was pregnant, I was being promoted, and then I said, "Pam, let's have a talk." She knew that I was unhappy at AT&T. I said, "I really want to go out and launch my next business, but you might not be working in 6 months." I said, "Let's have a discussion." She said, "Tom, I trust you and I will back you with whatever you want. If you want to leave, if you want to start developing a second business now and then leave so you have enough income to cover ours, I trust you and I support you in it." If she would have turned to me and said, "Give me 2 years, let's wait, and in 2 years go off and do it on your own," I loved her enough that I probably would have done that. It's the leaps of faith of the people you're with in the relationships that give you the confidence. It's why a lot of times we pick partners in business, because we're looking for those leaps of faith. And sometimes by doing with the right person that has the same energy, it creates the momentum that creates an opportunity for us.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it's that faith that she has. It's the faith of when I lived in Orlando, Florida, and there was an opportunity in Richmond, Virginia. And she said, "Let's go." It's a faith after 2 years when I started this new business, Atlantic Coast Brands, 18 years ago. And we bought a company in New Jersey. We moved from Richmond, Virginia to New Jersey. That leap of faith. Yeah. And it's the confidence that she had along the way that it'll all work out, and that support that's just been amazing. And the other thing, Kevin, that I learned is that sometimes you need to change your location. Some people say change your place, change your luck. I view it as change your place and your surroundings, change your paradigm. Mm-hmm. You get to really evaluate what relationships are important for you and make those decisions. who in your life, what do you do every time you move? So frankly, we've moved a number of times and have really incredible results and really have changed our lives by doing it, including our move to Austin 3 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
It was COVID. What do you want? Of course we moved.
A perfect reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Tom, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today, because I know that your story and your experience is going to resonate with a number of entrepreneurs. And for anybody listening to this that's going, man, Kev, I really like Tom. I really love the way that Tom shows up. I really love the way that Tom honors his wife. How can they find out more about what you're doing and what you guys got going on?
Yeah. Follow me on primarily Facebook, Tom Shipley, or LinkedIn. I do some regular postings there. Tom at tshipley.com is where you can follow me. And the other thing that I'll share or learn more about me, the other thing I'll share is two things, because you talk about relationships, Kevin. And what I learned I waited too many years to learn, is that you either earn your way into a room, or you invest your way into a room. So I'm a big believer in masterminds. If it gets you in the room, or joint venture partnerships, if it gets whatever it takes, or your time to earn you into the relationships, that is going to change your life, because you're the average of the people that you surround yourself with. And sometimes you can earn your way, or sometimes I paid my way into masterminds to get into different levels of room of people that help me evolve and build relationships. And your network is your net worth. So investing your time on a regular basis for coffees, developing relationships, Zoom relationships like this, where you have a chance just to get to know other people.
Yep.
And for other people to get to know you is critical, because that's where the opportunities come up. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the most important place that every entrepreneur should be, you can look at your calendar and really know what your real priorities are. You can look at your checkbook, really know what your real priorities are. Ultimately, the real priority that we should all be spending time on are those closest that we call family. And if we have spouses, significant others, if we have kids, that's where we should always be having anchored every day is, did I make those? Do they know that I love them? Did I do something to demonstrate today how much they mean to me in my life? And if not, it's where your day one starts. So
Right. That's right. Yeah. At the end, I usually ask, okay, thanks much, Tom. Is there any last thing you might want to share before we call it a wrap? But that was pretty dang brilliant right there. But I will ask you anyway. I just want to make sure I don't leave anything uncovered. If anything else is on your heart, Tom, because this has been powerful. This has been powerful. And any last thing you want to share before we do call it a wrap?
yeah, no, I appreciate the time together. And I always tell people, don't wait till tomorrow to make change. If there's an opportunity for a change, momentum starts now.
That's right. That's right. Well, Tom, thanks again. Really appreciate you, and excited to share this with other entrepreneurs and founders. So thanks again.